All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Tuesday Times Roundtable. Today's topic is building soil and community, regenerative farming and generation. So we're going to be exploring a little bit about sustainable farming practices that nourish both the land and the community. It's going to be led by these beautiful ladies from Lion Farms. I'm going to be introducing one of them, Shirley. My name is January Mendoza Farja, and I'm the Senior Program Coordinator for the Office of Global Learning Initiatives. If you haven't heard about our office, feel free to go to the lobby area. We do have two wonderful programs, the Global Learning Medallion and the Peace Corps Prep, and also our staff will be happy to share any information with you. This Tuesday Times Roundtable, they are our flagship discussion series that brings together multiple perspectives on global issues, topics, and trends. Always these sessions are connected to the Sustainable Development Goals to continue the conversation. If you didn't get a chance to sign in, we're going to ask you to scan the QR code that you see on the screen. This is how we're going to record the attendance for today. So whether you're here for engagement points for an honors college, extra credit from your professor, whatever brought you to us, we're happy that you're here. Also, as a reminder, when you engage in today's session, we're going to ask you to raise your hand. Our team is going to have microphones in the area, so that way we can capture your engagement in the recording. I talk a little bit about the different programs that we have at the Office of Global Learning Initiatives. So if you would like to learn more about them, go to goglobal.fiu.edu/students. All right, and also today's article, it is connected to a news article from the New York Times. This is because of the partnership that FIU has with the New York Times, that everyone that has an FIU email address is able to get access to the digital account. So you may visit accessnyt.com to activate your account. And also today's article, you can access it at go.fiu.edu/TTR 0210. We're also connecting the session to SDG number 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities by making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, and resilient, and sustainable. To learn more about the SDGs, you may go to go.fiu.edu/SDG. Okay, and now it is my great pleasure to introduce one of the presenters, Daphne Sugino Souffront. Daphne has a bachelor's degree in environmental sciences from Loyola University in Chicago, and also a master's degree in environmental studies from FIU. She also recently graduated with her PhD from FIU on an agricultural program, and her dissertation focused on the impact of organic fertilizers and secondary metabolic production of medicinal crops. With her also we have Samantha Perez. So Samantha is very close to our office. She is a Global Learning Medallion student and also doing her bachelor's degree in environmental science and agriculture. So happy for this session, and thank you so much for being here with us. I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay, so hello everybody. As she was saying, my name is Daphne and this is Sam, and the company that we currently work for is called Lion Farms. We are a regenerative organic farm that is right here in Miami. Oh, wait, sorry guys.
Okay, hi, I'm Sam. So the farm is located in the Redlands, not too far from here. Is the unique agricultural sun in South Florida. It's where the farms are currently located. A lot of people think it's Homestead, but it's actually the Redlands. It's a little bit above that. It's in exit 13 if you guys want to check us out. Okay, so our mission is based on beliefs of farming must do more than just feed people. It must heal the ecosystem. So Lions Farm focus on regenerating soil, restoring biodiversity, and strengthening South Florida's food resilience. Through science-driven agricultural, or our long-term vision is regional food systems where everyone harvests improved planets is currently depleting. So we work around soil regeneration, sustainability, and zero waste options. So we have different pillars that we work for. We have the mushroom, we have the food forest, we have vermicompost facility, and then we also have our educational pillar where we help graduate students or undergraduate students to continue doing their research or help us during our venture. A zero waste system is everything we build on the farm. It connects back to these principles. They guide how we design our production systems and our research collaboration.
Oh, okay. So in the farm, we also have an aquaponics pond. It's actually a really large system, and it's really cool because we actually carved it from the bedrock that we had in the property, and then we used the bedrock that we removed to actually make all of the waterfall sort of effects that we have in our farm. We actually raise Nile perch. We have dozens of it. We do not eat the Nile perch, but actually we use their poop. So in our mission to be closed loop, we actually collect all of the wastewater generated from the fish, and we irrigate all of our ornamental plants with it. And the reason that we do that is because fish poop is actually super high in nitrogen. So if you have some fishies, you can put them to work for your plants. So we also recently started to develop a food forest, specifically a syntropic food forest. For those of us that are not super familiar with that term, it's just defined as a regenerative, high-density agroforestry system that mimics natural forest succession while producing food and not compromising any soil health. So this actually enables us to continue producing commercially. So our staple crop that we actually produce is turmeric. We produce probably 5 acres of turmeric per year. But even though we're producing this much turmeric, we're actually not damaging the soil at all. We're actually continuing to build our soil even if we're farming it sort of intensively.
Okay, so our main production system is mushroom cultivation. We grow lion's mane all year round alongside specialty varieties in a climate control facility. So this is our climate control facility. It helps specifically control carbon due to that's the intake mainly fungi take, and they release oxygen for the most part. So we have a troll master, and through that we control whether the carbon levels are down or if we need to adjust anything. And it's a pretty cool facility. It's a $2 million facility built right here in the heart of the Redlands. It controls anything along humidity, airflow, cleanliness, carefully managed with our manager and our director. They're very involved in our production. That's a picture of them. It's Ricky and Spencer. Okay, so blue oyster is one of our staple gourmet varieties. It's a saprotropic mushroom. That means that it's supposed of growing in manure like a lot of the ones you get in the grocery store. It grows on trees. So it could be found in the northern part of the United States and has really cool morphology. A lot of people look at them and they're like, oh wow, and you can eat those, and are they safe, are they poisonous? I think it has a really nice flavor profile, and from our selection, this is my favorite one. It tastes really good in some butter in a pan. It's a very good meat substitute if you go for vegan, but I think it goes very well alongside meat because I love to eat meat myself. It's slightly like seafood, and a lot of people will tell you that profile, or at least it smells like it. It has those little gills underneath it, so a lot of people do imitation crab or anything alongside. It's very creative. This is our main mushroom. It's very good for you because lately there's been a push for lion's mane being good for your health, and lion's mane, and you see them everywhere. It's actually very good for your cognitive function. It's due to the beta glucans that it has, so it helps connectivity in the brain, and it helps development as a supplement, and it's very delicious. So we have a lot of restaurants and farmers market in South Florida currently purchasing from us. This is our chef box. It's mainly our main attraction with all the restaurants. We have Stubborn Seed is one of our clients, and they have a few plates if you want to check it out. Our selection consists of lion's mane, blue oysters, golden oysters, pink oysters, black king oysters. We make the mushroom system special so that it's not isolated. It connects directly into the rest of the farm. The mushroom side supports the vermicompost side through spent substrate recycling, and that becomes part of our soil regeneration model.
Okay, so Lyons Farm is actually one of the biggest producers of vermicompost in South Florida and also actually in the entire state. And so behind me, you can actually see the picture of our entire facility. I know it doesn't look really big, but we actually have millions of worms within each of these boxes. So for those of us that I've never heard about vermicompost is a peat-like manure created between the interactions of earthworms and bacteria. And I know that kind of sounds like gibberish, but it's essentially a mixture of worm poop and decomposed organic matter, very similar to what regular compost would be. So vermicompost is actually typically used as an organic fertilizer, and it's also used to amend soil. And the reason that we use it for soil and for plants is because it has a high percentage of nutrients. It also has a lot of beneficial bacteria, and finally, it actually has a lot of plant growth promoting substances. So not only are you fertilizing your soil, but you're actually also increasing the biomass growth in your plants as well when you apply vermicompost. There is a lot of wide array of benefits for soil and for plants, but the main thing really is that it helps improve your soil health while improving biomass overall in the plant, not only through yield, but also leaf biomass, stem height, etc. So to produce our vermicompost, we actually use these boxes. These are called continuous flow systems, and you can actually purchase this yourself. I would say that it's definitely a learning curve and an investment because it takes about 3 to 6 months for your box to become productive, depending on how big your vermicomposting system is. But the great thing about this is that these particular boxes actually enable us to be able to feed our earthworms without actually disturbing them when we harvest all of our product. So the way that these boxes work is that you actually put all of the organic matter into the top of the box, and then the earthworms will naturally go upwards, and that's just in their nature. I'll explain why in the next slide. They'll go upwards and they'll start consuming all of the organic matter. And below will remain all of the vermicompost that is already fully formed. And then you see this like sort of crank or pulley in the bottom that actually has a blade, and that'll cut the last 2 or 3 inches of the vermicompost pile, and it'll drop down, and that's how we'll harvest it without disturbing our earthworms and without also disturbing any cocoon or egg production that they have. Oh, sorry guys. So although our bins are kind of fancy schmancy and they are automated because we do have irrigation systems and we do control the environment somewhat, even though this is kind of semi outside. You can pretty much do vermicomposting anywhere. You can do it in a Tupperware, you can do it in a wood chest, you could pretty much do it anywhere as long as you're controlling the feedstock and you're controlling the environment. Most of the time when I say controlling the environment, it's really controlling the moisture in the substrate that they're living in. So earthworms drive the vermicomposting process completely by breaking down the organic waste through digestion. So basically everything that you're putting in your vermicompost bin, they're eating all of it if it's organic. And organic matter technically, sorry. So even though we can find earthworms pretty much anywhere in our yards, there's only a specific amount of earthworms that can actually do this. Not every species of earthworms that you find will be able to vermicompost. And actually they need to have certain characteristics to be able to do this. So the first thing is that they need to be able to consume a lot of organic matter very rapidly. And they need to poop very fast too, because the poop is what we're technically harvesting. They need to also have a really high tolerance to stress, especially here in South Florida. It gets really hot. So we need to make sure that in these hot and humid conditions, these earthworms can thrive, because if the environment is off, that'll actually slow down the process of vermicomposting. So they'll poop less, they'll eat less, and they'll also reproduce less, which is not in our best interest if we're trying to sell this product. And finally, they just need to really mature rapidly because we want them reproducing. We want more earthworms in our bins. So there's only a few species that fulfill all of these criteria that are needed, and specifically all of them belong to this group called epigeic. And epigeic just means that these earthworms specifically live in the uppermost layer of the soil in the organic portion of the soil on the top. So that's why I kept saying like it's in the nature of the earthworm, because that's where they technically live. So The most used earthworm for vermicomposting is the red wigglers, which you see back here. They are our best employees. We love our worms, and their scientific name is Asenia fetida. Another earthworm that is used a lot is called Asenia andre, which is the tiger worm, and also African night crawlers are another one that a lot of people like to use as well. The great thing about all of these vermicomposting earthworms is that they actually cannot thrive outside of composting bins or even like in your yard, and the reason is because they need very carefully managed environment, and they need to be in areas that have a high concentration of organic matter. And in Florida, if you know anything about soil, our soil is extremely depleted of organic matter. We naturally have very low organic matter soils here. So our farm is considered a closed loop operation, and that means that we recycle, we compost, and we vermicompost pretty much everything we can. And so to produce vermicompost, we heavily rely on the usage of food scraps and also garden waste that's produced in our farm. However, that's not enough. So we were trying to think of a way to actually increase the feedstock or the food that we're adding to our worm bins. And actually, once we opened our mushroom production facility, we thought about using our spent mushroom blocks, just as Sam was describing before. And so we actually do have a couple of mushroom blocks right here with their fruiting body, but after you've harvested those, most people just throw them away. But with that, we actually saw an opportunity to feed our worms. And spent mushroom blocks are actually ideal for vermicomposting because they're super nutrient rich. Mushrooms themselves and the mycelium is actually made of this thing called chitin, which is a complex carbohydrate, and that's actually great for the earthworm's diet. And once we started adding the spent mushroom blocks, our population exploded to the point that we have too many worms. So if you're looking for worms, please hit us up. We do not know what to do with all of them. The spent mushroom blocks are also super high in carbon, just regular carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and also potassium. And again, these are all essential plant nutrients that are needed for plants to grow. So vermicompost has a lot of different benefits for plants and also for soil. For plants, it actually increases flowering. It also increases root yield and biomass production. And there's actually plenty of studies to support that, and also even my own research here at FIU also supported this. We have also seen an increased production of defense molecules in plants, and this actually leads to pest and pathogen suppression, but this is actually not unique to vermicomposting. This is unique to organic fertilization. When you fertilize with organic products, you're actually inoculating the soil as well. And what I mean by inoculation is that you're adding a lot of beneficial bacteria that drive the nutrient cycling within the soil. And this will actually enable the plants to get more nutrients because they're cycling these nutrients and they're making them in plant available forms. And so the reason that this also leads to pest and pathogen suppression is, although these bacteria are beneficial, the plant sometimes doesn't know that. The plant can sense all of these exudates being released by bacteria and it thinks, oh my God, I'm being attacked. I need to do something about this. So then the immune system of the plant starts to go into overdrive, and it starts producing all of these compounds that it considers as defense compounds. But the great thing is that these defense molecules actually double as taste and aroma compounds as well. So everything that makes basil or a tomato or taste good is actually detrimental to pests. So for soil effects, we do see an increase of nutrient concentration just because vermicompost itself is nutrient rich and it's considered a fertilizer. We also see an increase in organic matter. Of course, that's the main reason why we added to our soil beds, to increase the presence of organic matter, and it also adds to the total carbon. We also see a really vast improvement in soil structure and also nutrient retention, and it also helps to actually aerate the soil, which enables gas exchange for the plants, because the plants do transpire and respire as well. So the most important thing, though, again, for vermicompost is the addition of these diverse microbial populations, because you're increasing nutrient cycling, but you're actually also improving soil structure through the exudates that all of these microbes are releasing, and that forms this thing called soil aggregates, which will actually enable for better aeration. So vermicompost can be used in several different ways. You can use it as a solid product, and you can use it as a liquid amendment. So to produce to produce our vermicompost tea, and actually let me explain what that is. Vermicompost tea is just a water-based extract, and we use it to fertigate our plants, which just means to fertilize and to irrigate at the same time. And to produce our tea, we just add vermicompost in a mesh bag, and then we insert it into our reactor, which is one of these 3 tanks. We actually have 2 1,000-gallon tanks, so if you're looking for vermicompost tea, believe me, we have a lot of it. So after we do that, we aerate it for 24 hours, and then once we're done, we'll spread it within our field within 4 hours. The reason that you have to do that is because vermicompost tea does not have a lot of longevity. Once you extract all of the microbes and also the nutrients from that vermicompost, there's going to be a very limited amount of time that these microbes are going to be alive. And if you stop aerating it, which you do once the brew is done, the microbes will start rapidly dying, and then your system will turn anoxic, and then it'll start smelling bad. So if you're looking to do gardening and you see anybody selling vermicompost tea in like a Home Depot or something like that, don't buy that. That does not work. It's all dead in there. I promise you, because there is no shelf life to this. Like once you brew this vermicompost tea for your plants, you need to rapidly put it out in the field or give it to your plants. So the tea has the same benefits as regular vermicompost, but a lot of farmers actually opt to use this because you use less vermicompost since you're making a concentrated extract that you could dilute with water. And also, again, it's just way easier to fertigate or to water your crops with this as opposed to having a solid product which will take some time to break down and release the nutrients that you want to add to your soil or to your plants. So this is just a picture of how our brewing process occurs. It's super low tech, super easy. Again, you could do this at home. When I did my experiment with vermicompost tea, I made my own vermicompost tea, and I just use a 10-gallon bucket with a mesh bag. These mesh bags we get from the Compost Tea Lab. They're about like $24, but they last forever because they're made from nylon, so you could just reuse them. But I highly recommend it if you have plants and you're an avid gardener. I promise you, you will never go back if you use vermicompost. You don't have to use our vermicompost, but definitely some vermicompost is great. So Lions Farm is also a really big proponent of education and agricultural research. I started working with Lion Farms actually during my PhD to complete my studies on vermicompost tea. So during my time at FIU, I extensively researched the effects of vermicompost tea on medicinal crops such as turmeric and also basil. And I actually found a lot of different interesting things. The first thing is that yes, vermicompost is significantly increasing the yield in our plants, but it's also changing the plant chemically, as I was mentioning before. In basil specifically, it actually doubled and tripled in some cases the amount of eugenol. And eugenol is actually this antimicrobial compound that actually helps the plant protects itself against different pathogens, especially pathogens that affect the leaves like fungi. So I was really surprised to see that organic fertilization can actually do all of this. And I was only treating the plants once a week with about 250 milliliters of this. So imagine what could happen if we would be doing this more often, or if we would be watering with vermicompost every other day when the plant actually needs it. So we also have other ongoing projects in the farm still with FIU, the agroecology program, and also with the University of Florida. Specifically, we're studying cover crops and how they fit into our regenerative model. And also we're studying the usage of biochar and inoculation of biochar to have nutrients and turn it into sort of a slow release fertilizer product. And if you want to be involved in any of these products, you could definitely talk to Chiara. She is the coordinator from the agroecology program, and she manages all of the projects that are ongoing, not only on FIU, but also in Lions Farm. So definitely hit her up if you're interested. We do also have an internship program where students actually get paid. I think it's like $2,000 or $3,000 a semester to assist graduate students. So out of Lion Farms, me and my partner now also run and own a nursery called Cultiva Miami, and we specialize on edible exotic crops. We also do tissue culturing. We actually developed a whole lab, and we did this so we could increase the production of native and edible plants in the farm. And so this is just a setup of how our nursery looks on the inside. And currently, we lost a lot of the plants to the frost, so we are rebuilding. So we have a lot of new plants that we're putting out there. These are some of our staple crops. That's a habanada, which is actually a sweet version of a habanero pepper. It tastes exactly the same, but without spice. And we also have a fan favorite, which everybody loves, cilantro here. So this is actually our tissue culturing lab setup. For those of us that have never heard about tissue culturing, that's just the cultivation of plant cells, tissues, or organs, especially formulated media and agar. So just think about like when you grow bacteria in a petri dish, you can actually grow plants in petri dishes as well. And so under the right conditions, you can actually produce entire plants. And that's what a lot of people have started to do right now. Not only for the ornamental market, but also for edible crops as well.
So a little bit to base off what she said, Lions Farm is not only a production farm, we're also structured as a learning research campus. So we collaborate with other universities, FIU, we're on the works to get in contact with MDC, hopefully soon. And it's a community-based engagement programs. So we're here to offer and extend that opportunity to the global learning family. We want to do capstones, and we also want to do volunteering events. The volunteering events will keep in touch through Instagram and making flyers, but for the most part we encourage people to come and do either research, or you can just jump in what we're doing, and we're always grateful for teaching, extending the knowledge, helping out through your journey as a student to get any hours you have. So gift post is something we incorporated, and we're very proud, so we can keep hours track. Anything you guys need to report back to your counselor, we can sign it virtually. So that would be the QR code. We currently do have a position for the capstone if people want to apply, and we have some other for agroecology purposes. So if you want to be part of the mushroom production, or if you want to be part of logging the data for vermicompost and learn a little bit from Daphne, we also have all those opportunities. And now I would like to share with you guys Edible South Florida. It's a magazine that they give out in the South Florida area. They give them out in Miloms. Sometimes they bring them to school and you have them here. We wanted to share this with you guys because we made an excerpt. There's a 16-pagers in there about our farm, and it goes over a little bit in depth through the control environment of the mushrooms, and we also go a little bit into the vermicompost. So I encourage you guys to read it and to pick them up. They also have other information about farmers market or things that are currently happening alongside recipes. So if you guys want to get creative, jump in the kitchen, make some mushrooms maybe, there's some recipe there for you. Okie dokie. Connect with us. We do have Instagram. I make the videos and take the pictures, so please support, and thank you.
Put back the gift post one?
Yeah, I'll just leave it on that one.
Oh, we have a question.
Could you talk more about the aquaponics? Just like any information?
Yeah, I'll go back to the slide.
Yes, of course. So do you have any specific question, or you just want me to like give you more description on what we do?
Yeah, like how important is it to the whole process? Is it also incorporated with like everything else you do?
So yes, so our aquaponics is actually fed from a natural well that we already had present in our property. As term as to contributing to our closed loop system, originally when we designed this pond, it was supposed to be for agrotourism, because we also serve as an agrotouristic spot. We do tours, and we also do a lot of different events with the Miami-Dade County. So it was a good centerpiece to have. So when thinking about how can we involve this in our closed loop system, pretty much most of the things that we do is to take the fish waste and to disperse it around our property. We actually also consume the fish. We don't sell it because we don't have a livestock like permit from Miami-Dade, but we do give it out, and we also do fish fries every so often where we invite people to eat our fish. But pretty much most of the time it's like a centerpiece, and we just use it to fertigate our plants.
There is currently a study by your friend Jasmine. They have like a floating island with a lot of plants, and it's pretty cool. So we do support students with it.
Yeah, so the study that Sam is referencing to is from Dr. Jasmine Locke. She actually also graduated from FIU, and I think she works right now in the Institute of the Environment here, if anybody's interested in working with her. Her floating wetland project is actually really cool because she has a lot of different ornamental plants that she's growing out there, and she wants to see if these can actually help clean the canal. So as the plants are growing in these floating wetlands, they're absorbing heavy metals and other pollutants, and then these plants get harvested and then disposed of properly.
What plants do you sell, like mainly?
Okay, so we sell a lot of different edible crops. Right now we are growing green tomatoes, we have San Marzanos, we have hibiscus as well. We also have like 5 different types of Scotch bonnet. We have chocolate, we have yellow, peach, orange, red, and we also do a lot of eggplants as well. And finally, we just planted like 20 different things. Like we just laid out some trays, so I'm blanking on some of them, but we also have a lot of herbs like cilantro, lemon balm, as well as lemongrass and culantro.
Silly question. I never really understood gardening. It's like you have to wait for it to grow, so how do you have food to eat? And then also, is it like you only have food for half the year? Or like, can you explain that? I honestly don't know anything about gardening.
Since we live in South Florida, we can grow year-round, actually, most crops. We don't face frost very frequently, so actually we're harvesting and we're growing year-round. But to be able to produce food year-round, we actually stagger our plantings out. Our main crop, for instance, turmeric, actually takes 7 to 9 months for it to fully develop. So in those 7 to 9 months, we need to make money doing something else, right? So other than the mushrooms, we also have a lot of different fruit trees. We actually have a really big avocado grove. The property was actually originally an avocado farm when it first got sold to us. So we just have to stagger our plantings pretty much. That's the only way to be able to be productive year-round.
So like if you had a garden at your house, how does it work? Do you just, like, I guess back then, how did they do it? Did they have other food? Would they just like eat meat, like, until the crops
I think
grew?
I get at your question. There is crops you rotate, so some crops just have fall term life, and then there's another term life for spring. You hear a lot of like, oh, that's a spring crop, that's a fall crop, and then you have to like time out, like let's say you want the pumpkin because it's a fall, you time that out in spring and you'll have it by fall. That's kind of like the math I think you're getting into asking, and that's how a lot of people have, like, if you want under an acre to have your own garden, you do have to rely heavily on planning out each season so you have a successful thing to feed yourself. But most of the time, let's say you pick garlic, you will have a lot of garlic, so you will have to like preserve and get creative with what you're going to do with all that garlic. So it really depends on your food palette, like what do you want to grow. Are you going to eat the pumpkins that are state regional? No. Do you want pumpkins from another place? Are they going to have an adaptive period or something like that? I think that's what you're asking.
I guess then the final question, what's the market like, because I don't see like tons of people going into farming, and then I also know we lost like the orchard industry. So like, what's the farming market like?
It's really hard to be a farmer, not gonna lie to you guys right now. Economically, it doesn't make sense. You lose a lot of money actually waiting for crops to be ready. We face high pest pressure, and also the environment is really actually super harsh in South Florida due to the high humidity and really like bad heat during the summertime. So that's why we've ventured out to do different things. So that's why we sell vermicompost. That's why we do workshops and tours. And that's also the reason why we are an agro-touristic destination and why we also have the aquaponics. So most of the farms that we actually collaborate with are doing the same exact thing as us. So for instance, like if you've ever been to the Redlands, there's this other place called Glazers, which is also a farm, but they also have a restaurant within the farm, because it's pretty much impossible right now as a small farmer to be able to be profitable if you don't have other business ventures. Oh, I saw a question over here earlier.
Hi, good afternoon. First and foremost, thank you for the presentation. It was incredible. I was wondering if you could go into a little more detail into the tissue.
The tissue culture?
Yes.
Yes, of course. So for tissue culturing, we actually just developed a lab. Me and my partner, and also Peter, who is the owner of the farm, built this lab out. Although it's pretty simple, you can actually do tissue culturing at home as well. There's like a ton of different YouTube videos. That's how I actually got into it as well. That was not part of my dissertation or my PhD at all. And so for tissue culturing, the main thing that you have to have is really an autoclave. And an autoclave is just a sterilizer, because you need to use sterilized media to be able to propagate cells. And you could actually do tissue culture for anything. Tissue culture is also used to grow human organs as well. But we do it at a way simpler, smaller scale with plants and with mushrooms as well. So the way that you do tissue culturing is that you prepare a nutrient media, and there's a ton of different medias that you can actually buy pre-prepared already. And so after you've either prepared your media or you've bought it, you add agar to it and it'll solidify after you put it in the sterilizer. Once it's solidified, then you can actually add for plants a part of the meristem, which is like a part of the plant where new growth is emerging. And that's actually the best thing for you to tissue culture in plants. And then it takes about 1 to 6 months, depending on the plant that you're tissue culturing, for the plant to be able to fully grow. And so the way that you make these plants expand is not just from the media, you actually have to add growth hormones as well. So you add hormones for elongation and for biomass production. And then after the plant has started to grow out, you'll add some rooting hormones, and that'll actually make the plant root, and then you can take it out of this media and actually acclimate it to the outside. So that's why we have the tissue culture, and then tissue culture lab, and then we transfer these out into the nursery for them to adapt and harden out. Because once you produce this plant, the plant is only used to being inside a lab, so it takes some time for the plant to adapt. It's the same thing with the mushrooms. With the mushrooms, it's actually even simpler. You just cut a mushroom open, you remove a small piece of the mushroom from the center, and then you put it in the agar plate, and it'll actually take about 1 or 2 weeks for it to fully develop, and then you can use that to inoculate your grain spawn bags or your grain bag, which is right there, and then it'll be fully colonized by the mycelium, and it'll look like that. So tissue culturing can be used for a lot of different things. So that's how the bag will eventually look like, and then it'll fruit, and then it'll end up like these. So these mushrooms that we have here are reishi, and they're used for medicinal purposes, but they're also used as art pieces that we also sell in our farm. Of course. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What's your opinion on like vertical farms versus horizontal?
I think that vertical farming is great, especially in urban environments like Miami. There's land here is really expensive. As part of my dissertation, I also studied how expensive it is to own a farm. And here in South Florida, an acre of land, specifically in the Redlands, will cost you upwards of $180,000 sometimes, depending if there's even electricity or water hookups to it, which most of the time there is not. So I think vertical farming is actually great. I used to live in Chicago before, and there was a lot of urban farms that were having great success using that.
Is like your soil method valid for vertical farms as well?
So it depends. Some vertical farming can be done through aquaponics, basically, where they're only using water as like the substrate, and they're adding nutrients to the water for the plants to be able to grow there. Sometimes they do have soil depending on what they're growing, but yes, vermicompost is actually readily and heavily used in vertical farming. Specifically, vermicompost tea is also used a lot as like a replacement for water.
Right, and then for the market again, it's like say you have all the crops you need to sell. So we're not talking about like growing the crops. Like, is the difficulty with like international competition? Or
Yes. So since we are an organic farm, selling products that are organic are already kind of hard because there's a lot of people that don't care about organic versus not organic. However, now we've seen a really big push towards towards more healthy living, and that's actually helped us break into the market. So currently we actually are working with 3 or 4 different distributors from Cisco, which is like a big food distribution company. But we found that it's really hard. They haggle us a lot, let me tell you. A lot of the times they don't want to pay the premium price for organic products. But not only is organic produce better in a sense because it's healthier for you, it actually has better flavor as well. And we've proved that scientifically.
Yeah. So how come farms don't sell directly to people? Like, how come it always is with the, I guess, Walmarts and companies?
They do in farmers markets and stuff.
It just doesn't generate a lot of income. So we're doing like 3 or 4 farmers markets during the summertime and the fall time. However, all of the produce that doesn't get sold, we kind of have to dispose of. We're very lucky that we can use that produce and just vermicompost it, but that's one of the main reasons. So we do get more money from distributors. However, we still work with direct to consumer. So if any of you guys are ever interested in buying any produce from us, we definitely do sell to people. You just need to hit us up through Instagram.
So how can we, from the general public, besides directly supporting you monetarily, how can we help out?
So, okay, I get that question a lot, and that I feel like that's a really complex and multi-layered question. But I never like to push organic products onto people. I think that, like yourself, I was also a struggling student and I couldn't afford to eat organically. All of the things that I would get organic were actually free from the farm because I worked there. So, I always have my reservations recommending that because I do understand we live in like a really high income area and it's really hard to support yourself. But I would say that the main thing that I would like to see people do is have some food independence, especially a lot of the produce that we buy from Walmart and from Publix. That produce has been sitting there for a long time and they're chemically treated, so they look better in the long run and they last longer. But a lot of the times when the produce is older, it'll actually have way less of a nutritional value. So even if you're eating a vegetable, it's actually not as nutritional maybe as another vegetable that you might get that's way fresher. So I would say, focus on yourself, focus on your health, and also think about if you have space in your house, what could you grow? So for instance, I always like to recommend herbs. Herbs are a really easy way to start. It's a really easy crop to start growing for yourself, and you can grow that in apartments or even in a little room as well. So definitely by having more food independence, even if you're not buying organically from us or from any other farm, I feel like for everybody's sake and for your own lifestyle, definitely start growing your own food if you can.
Anybody else wants to ask a question?
So what would be your tips on this home gardening?
Okay, so be patient. A lot of people, when they first start gardening, will kill everything, and that's totally okay. Even me, that I'm a plant scientist, I've killed plenty of plants. It's really hard. Sometimes you didn't get the right seed and the plants weren't adapted to be in South Florida. Sometimes you overwatered them because you think they have to be watered all day and every day. But no, be very patient when you're growing plants. Research the seeds that you're buying and make sure that they'll grow well in South Florida. In South Florida, we have a hardiness zone from I think it's like 10B all the way to 11A. So I definitely recommend that when you're buying any seed or any plant, make sure that it will grow well here. Nurseries are very nefarious sometimes, and they will sell you plants that will not be able to grow well here. And then you keep killing them and they keep making money because you keep buying plants from them. So I highly recommend to just look at the seed when you purchase it. That's the number one way to ensure that your plant is successful. And then also grow something that's easy for yourself and that fits your lifestyle. When I did my experiment, I chose turmeric because it takes a long time to grow, but it's also pretty low maintenance. Just like basil, when I also worked with basil, it's relatively low maintenance. It just has to be pruned every once in a while and watered every other day. So definitely grow something that fits your lifestyle. Don't pick something super hard. I didn't for my experiment, so I don't suggest anybody do it either.
Do you have any recommendations as consumers where to do groceries for something that is good for our health as well?
Milam supports a lot of farms, like hands-on, like if you want to go to a grocery store. But I do recommend everybody to make it a venture and try to support your local farmers market, because those directly, for the most part, is where the farms go and try to get revenue and stuff like that. And just stay educated. Wherever you're going to go by, ask a lot of questions, make sure that they tell you all the questions you have, so you could see if this is actually being grown here or if they got it from Maine and they're telling you that the mushroom looks like that because it's a different strain.
And I do see that you brought some samples to share with us today. You want to talk a little bit about those as well?
Yeah, so actually those are not the mushrooms for consuming and eating. They're called reishi. It's one of the oldest known mushrooms. It was specifically from China medicine all the way from the first documents that we have, and it treats almost all the diseases that they were having at the time, so they gave it the infamous name of the mushroom of 100 cures. You can extract it as a tea to consume its benefits. You can't directly eat it because it's like a wood-like hard morphology, so you can't consume it, it's wood. But a lot of people make it into tea, or they'll sell you a tincture, which is the best way you can have it and actually consume everything is the tincture if it's double extracted, because then you get the alcohol soluble and you also get the water soluble. But a lot of people, to cut corners, will just kind of tea it, kind of like water irrigated, and that's it, and it'll die and you won't get to consume anything. Either way, they don't have long shelf lives. When you do make it into tincture, they last about a month. But yeah, and then the substrate that I would like to talk about, since it's sapotropic, we have a mixture of pellets of oak and soy hulls, and with other things like amendments like gypsum. Sometimes we would add that, or we will add basically gypsum sometimes if it needs it.
And malt, sometimes we add malt as well.
Yeah, depending on it. It looks like this for most of the time, so it's kind of boring whenever we don't have something fruiting in the facility, because you'll just see a bunch of these bags with like a white foam and stuff like that, and then you can actually see the metabolite, which I call mushroom piss, because it's kind of the mushroom pissing after a while. You guys are very talkative.
So both of you are or former students of FIU. Has the farm partnered?
Yeah, we are currently partnering, and if you're interested, I recommend you to apply through gift pools. Oh, right there. We are working with people currently in biochar. We have some studies being done both in manure and just vegan feedstock, like a tree, like citrus trees and stuff like that. I'm currently working with the mushroom facility. I want to do a small scale experiment with the partner, and we also have someone coming and doing logs for vermicompost and the aquaponics and stuff like that. So we are very interested in helping out students with whatever requirements they have. Sometimes they'll be like, hey, I don't have a lot of time, I can only volunteer, I only want to do this semester, and perfect. We work around your schedule for the most part.
Yeah, and if you do want to do research or you're interested in doing any sort of agricultural activity through FIU, definitely reach out to the FIU agroecology program. They're in Case. I think it's like 151, I think, is the office where Kiara is at, and they have an entire internship where they'll pay you to volunteer. They also pay you to do an internship, so it kind of depends what you're interested in. So there's different sort of ventures or avenues that you can take this. So for instance, if you were doing an internship, you could intern with us and get paid to work once or twice a week in our facility through FIU. Or if you're interested in doing research, you could work with a graduate student that already works at Lions Farms, assisting them doing their project. And from their project, you can do a smaller scale experiment and present either in the symposiums that we have here, or even go to a conference international or nationally. I don't know if they still do this, but they also have trips to Costa Rica and Colombia where they do different experiments for like 1 to 2 weeks, and they also get to stay in universities in the local areas as well. So it kind of just depends what you want to do. We are open to partnering with most schools, and we are also open to have a lot of different types of internships as well. As we said, we're super interested in promoting education, and we're very interested in also getting people into farming because it is, I feel like it is something that a lot of people aren't doing anymore. Yes.
On that note, education, is it specifically undergrad and grad, or do you also do K through 12?
Oh, we do K through 12 also. So during the summertime, we actually do host
Gen 2050.
Yes, Gen 2050, and we also do Patch of Heaven. They have a whole program where they have students from Miami-Dade County and also Broward County, and they bring them to the farm, and they'll do different activities like fishing, farming. They'll also have lunches prepared, and they'll also learn how to cook their own food. So we do work with a wide range of places. Especially for students, we also do a lot of tours as well for children in school. So that's kind of the main thing that we do with K through 12.
And my last question, just to learn a little bit about both of you, what did you enjoy the most about what you do? If you can share with us.
So for me, it's really working outside. I think it's really hard sometimes to be all day indoors, but I really enjoy working outside. I really enjoy how successful you feel when you're able to grow a crop and you're able to feed yourself. Honestly, like that's the greatest part. And also to promote organic food, and also to promote better health and better food for all of us just in general. I really like interacting with the public. We actually do a lot of outreach and different workshops as well, which is something I really enjoy.
I love that the farm had a wild idea to make a mushroom facility, because that's my hyperfixation, and I looked into it for a while, and I thought I had to go to Europe or maybe like California to study it. But no, it's right here in the backyard, so I'm very grateful for the mushroom facility, and it's my favorite part. And opposed to her, I like being indoor with all the mushrooms. And nothing, I really want to take off and help the South Florida area with mushrooms.
Right, so let's give them both a big round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Thank you for the energy, for sharing your knowledge, and also for educating all of us about the amazing work that Lion Farms does. Just as a reminder, TTR is going to continue next week. This time around, I'm just going to put a quick slide right here. Okay, so next week we're going to have a conversation on Each One Teach One, a student-powered math literacy in public education. This is going to be led by Bob Moses Center for Math Literacy. So 2 professors from FIU are going to be joining us to have a conversation on this. And also, we would love to hear your feedback. So we're going to start putting this QR code on the screen every week, just so you can share it with us. This is going to help us to continue developing the sessions in a way that it is engaging. Even if it is your positive feedback, we would love to hear that from you as well. We do have a lot of food in the front, so feel free to join us at the front entrance. Our staff is going to be there in there as well, sharing information about the programs if you have any questions. Thank you for coming today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.